Hello everybody, so today, as you've just seen, we have got the Perkins P3 engine T20 out again. So what we're going to do to this today, we are going to refit the pickup hitch to it. It's been on there before. What I had to do before we did the hoeing video, which hopefully you've seen with this tractor, I had to do a hydraulic repair on it, and in order to drop the pump out of the bottom of the transmission housing, I had to remove the pickup hitch. So in today's video we are going to refit that. So here we have the component parts. We've got the brackets that bolt under the axle, the hook itself. This is the anti-jump plate. This is what fits over the hook like this, and blocks the gap off so that a trailer cannot jump off when it's tipping. This is the pin that pivots the hook, and here we have the mounting studs. Now, one of the most common questions you see on the internet, forums and whatnot, is what size mounting bolts, or what size bolts do I need to mount a pickup hitch to my T20 or my 35 or my 135? And the easy answer is you do not use bolts, you use studs. Okay, so these are the studs. As you can see, one end is UNC and the other end is UNF, and it is a 5/8 stud. So 5/8 UNC screws up into the casting, the transmission housing, and the UNF takes the nut with a spring washer underneath to stop it jiggling loose. Now, there's a variety of reasons for using studs rather than nuts. The main one being, as you can see, there's a limited length of thread on there. If that thread was longer, what you would do potentially, you could screw that up into the transmission housing, and if it was too long, or if there's dirt or anything up in the hole, you can, by over tightening, you can actually pop the casting. There's a little dome over these threads, and you can pop that dome off and cause a leak and break your housing. Another reason for using studs over bolts, by screwing in your inch or whatever length that is, you are guaranteed full thread engagement, and then your nuts then come up and take up the slack. If you had bolts and you didn't have the right length, you could potentially only have maybe 4 or 5 threads holding in, and it wouldn't be enough. But by using the stud, you're guaranteed, screwing them in to the end of the thread, you're guaranteed full engagement, and that is the strongest hold you can have. Okay, so these are the original studs that came out, and as you can see, these shiny bits, that's wear in the stud, where you can see it's been allowed to rattle about without being tight. So we're going to replace the studs. These are widely available from all the part suppliers, just 5/8 studs, at the correct length with the correct thread on each end. So they're cheaply available. There's no need to buy bolts. You can easily get the proper parts. And one thing you'll notice on these original studs, there's too short and too long. Okay, so you can see the shorter ones would go at the back and the longer ones would go over the hook, that then give you extra length to carry the anti-jump plate. The new studs, as you can see, they are all just long. Okay, so they match the long ones, so you've got no worries about getting them in the wrong way round or being too short or anything. The new ones, just cover the longest length. I assume these were done to try and save a little bit of cost. You know, every 1/4 of an inch of bar saved adds up. But these are scrap now, so they're not safe to use with that worn out thread, so we're just going to replace these. And as you can see, I've had these a little while, and it's gone rusty already, so there we are. They did come studs and nuts. I've obviously pinched the nuts for another job. I can't find those, so we will be reusing the original nuts, but there's nothing wrong with them. And like I said, we've got our new spring washers. So the first job, we will take a look underneath the tractor and see where the studs actually go. Right, so it's a little bit dark under here because the camera's picking up the light from elsewhere, but as you can see, there is 4 tapped holes. Now if you're installing a pickup hitch for the first time, you need to make sure they're clean. Like I said earlier, you don't want any dirt up in the hole. I know these are clean because I've just taken the studs out, so I've got no worries there, but you do need to make sure there is no 50 years of dirt and grime and oil and manky stuff caught up in those holes before you screw them in. Right, so it's simply a case of putting the studs in with the coarse thread into the casting, screw them up just tight as you can with your fingers. And then if you've got one of these stud tightening tools, it just makes it easy. If you haven't got one of these, you can just lock two nuts together and just pinch them up. Don't need to be massively tight, but they do need to be caught up a little bit. Okay, so once the studs are installed, we can then assemble the brackets. So you can see here where the pads on the transmission housing sit. So we take our pin into the hook, assemble it like so. Right, so this is not the easiest job to do. It's kind of a five-handed job. You've got to offer it up all together. Nuts and washers on the back first is easiest. And then the anti-jump plate on the front. Right, so that's all the nuts caught on. Let's just simply do them all up now. Right, so there we are, all bolted on now. Okay, so you can see the need for the anti-jump plate now, so there is no gap. So if you tip a trailer up, it cannot jump off. Okay, so that is the reason for that plate. So what we need to do now, we need to go and get the rest of it, because that is only half of it. So we'll go and find the rest of the pickup hitch and put it together. But this is the part that stays on the tractor all the time. And the T-bar and the drop arms come and go as and when it's needed. Right, so these are kind of the removable parts of the pickup hitch. So we've got the T-bar, which fits onto this, a lot of people call it the long pin or the dead link. Okay, so that goes onto that pin. And then we've got the bars, the drop bars, they're cranked. So this end fits over the linkage pin and the small end. So you take the parking pin out and slide the pin through these holes and this rear hole here. So we'll install that. Okay, so we're fully installed now. Now the process for releasing the hook is to lift the link arms up. This takes the pressure off. Press this button here, which operates on the tongue, the catch inside of here, and then you release your link arms and the pickup hitch drops. Okay, like so. Then you reverse your drawbar under the hook, pick up, operate your lever, and as it slides up, this hook, this tongue, spring loaded, springs back up and catches inside of here. Take the pressure off the catch, press the button, and down you go. Right, so there we have our fully installed and operational pickup hitch. I guess we can't really have a pickup hitch video without trying it. So, something just happens to be in the yard. So what we have as our test piece. Okay, so what we're going to give it a go on. This is it's a slightly later, it's a Matthew Ferguson. It is a industrial trailer. Okay, and what's different about these to a standard agricultural trailer is, as you can see, they have a sprung axle, overrun brakes, which is controlled by this linkage here, and full road lighting. Front and back. No indicators, just in marker lights and reflectors. And this trailer has actually got military history. I don't know the history of it as such, but I know it's. Where is it to? It's got a military plate on it. I believe that's military, and probably that. And there is a military plate on the side here. If anybody can read that and decipher it, I would be pleased to hear from you. But it also happens to have a load on of a set of Goodyear super traction radials that at some point will be going on the 1200. So they're much nicer than what's on there, a lot more tread, and I was able to pick those up at a bit of a knockdown price. I just got to get round to installing them when I get a spare half hour. There we go, all installed. You will have noticed I did, just for the interest of safety, give this catch in here a poke with a screwdriver, because I don't entirely trust the spring anymore. It's getting old and stiff, so just in the interest of making sure it holds, I did give it a poke with a screwdriver. But there you go, you can see it's as easy as that, hitching on and off. So I think that's covered everything we need to. We have installed it, or reinstalled it, put it back on, give it a test, and it's all working fine. So I will say thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.